What's up, co-reporters? Welcome back to my channel. Do you guys remember Falynn from the Real Housewives of Atlanta in that huge scandal where her husband, Simon Guobadia, actually wound up marrying, or actually he got engaged to Portia while he was still married to Fallon. Now he and Portia are married. Fallon and Jalen were creeping around. She got pregnant. She lied so that she could play, the lost, devastated, blindsided wife, right? When this situation came about. Well, now Jalen has decided to officially go on the record and start speaking out about his relationship with Fallon. He's got a lot of really shocking allegations against her. He's calling her a narcissist. He's calling her a groomer, which is really ridiculous, right? Because he was 25 years old when he got with her. So there's no way she was grooming him, but we will get into that later. Now, at the top of this podcast that he shot, first of all, the podcast is called Relationships Matters Podcast. And at the very top, he says that, he's been trying to get with women, like date, but he just cannot. And as a result of his inability to trust in this moment, he's been ghosting women and he hates that he's treating women this way. So he's decided to take a break from dating, which I think is a wonderful thing, Like sometimes you think you're ready and then you try to get out there and you realize, actually, this is just not for me right now. So I'm happy that he decided to take a step back for the moment. Now, one thing that was interesting about that is that he threw shade at Fallon for being in a relationship. He's like, yeah, well, she's in a relationship at this moment and we just broke up. And like, it seems like he's upset that she is able to kind of put all this stuff to the side and get into a new relationship, whereas he is still hurting, which is a very normal reaction, right? Especially when you feel as though you're the one who was wronged in the relationship. Sometimes you kind of look and go, well, why is it that I have to have all this pain and whatnot, and the other person who's this like crappy person gets to, go on and be quote unquote happy? I say quote unquote happy because we don't even know if they're ever happy, right? Now, when it comes to whether or not Jalen misses his ex-fiance and his baby mama Fallon, he says that he misses the memories that he had with her, but not her as a person, which, again, it makes sense. I feel like we all typically feel this way. Well, sometimes you start off missing the person, then eventually you just don't even miss them at all. All it takes is time. Now, one thing I really want to point out is that this man finally, after all these years of lying, admits that he and Fallon started off as an affair behind her husband, Simon Guobadia's back. This is very important because I just want to remind you that when it came out that Simon and Portia were engaged, what happened? Fallon went on to the Up and Adam YouTube channel. She did an interview. She was very obviously pregnant during this interview, but she acted like she was blindsided. She couldn't believe her husband would do this to her, blah, blah. Meanwhile, she had already been cheating with the nanny and with the assistant, and she was knocked up by him, right? And then she just wanted to make these two like look like complete and utter villains when she was out there doing the same damn thing. This marriage was already over. And I also want to point this out because Jalen, do you guys remember I did a collaboration with Layla Lynn and Kempire, and Jalen popped in the chat and he called us all liars and whatnot for talking about how she was very obviously pregnant and that she was pregnant while she was still married to Simon. He claimed it wasn't true and that they were not cheating. Well, lo and behold, you lied, liar, liar, pants on fire. So now at this point, I don't know how much of this interview he did is even true, right? Because he has already proven to be a solid liar. Like he could lie for months and years on end. So I don't know, but I will continue to recap it for you. Now, he gets into some of the childhood trauma that he suffered, and he said that he watched his dad hit his mom, and he has a lot of resentment towards him as a result of that. But speaking of resentment, he doesn't really have any for Fallon. He claims to forgive her, but to be honest with you, I don't think so. I think he's still very much hurt and harboring a lot of ill feelings towards her, right? And ill will. Now, he does admit that he does have like kind of like a nasty side in relationships, and his kind of vice or like negative or toxic or red flag is that he will say the most hurtful things he can think to say to you when he's upset. because he always felt powerless, right? In his parents' dynamics, he watched his father do this to his mother, and he, as a little boy, he couldn't, do or say anything. So now that he's a grown man, he's choosing to do this to the women in his life. So I guess it gives him a sense of power, right? Now that and then we get into the ridiculous grooming allegations. This man, he was 25 when he got with Fallon. I think she was like 36, 37 or 38. He's like, she groomed me. I can't believe it, sir. Grooming is for children, okay? You were a grown man. Um, and like he's like, it wasn't like the actual grooming that like it's typically kind of described as. He says that she groomed him. Like, I think the word he was looking for is misled. Because he was like, oh, Fallon groomed me because she lied and told me that her husband Simon was mistreating her. And then I later found out that that was not true. Honey, that is not what grooming means. That's misleading. That's lying, right? That's manipulation. Like, it's not grooming. He does admit that the first time that he and Fallon ever swapped juices, bodily fluids, was in Cancun, but he doesn't say the year. So you would have to go to their social media and see exactly when that was, right? And so one of the hosts of this podcast, it was the woman, she wants to go back to Jalen's, allegations of grooming. And this, it gets ridiculous again, right? So she's like, so what's the age difference between you guys? He's like, I was 24, she was 33. I'm like, it's 9 years. And she's like, and she was really trying to like act like that was a predatory age difference. 24 and 33. Stop. Here's the thing, Jalen, you saw the amount of children this woman had. She's got all these kids by all these men, and you still decided you wanted to get with her, right? That's you being Boo Boo the Fool. I could tell you since I was even in high school, like high school teenage baby daddies have been trying to get with me. And I've always been team, I'm not taking care of your kids, right? So it's just a hard boundary for me. I'm not interested. So from the age of 16, 17, 18, when these guys with kids try to get with me, it's always been a hard no, right? Even now, sometimes when I'm walking, I remember when I was in the south of France, I was in Marseille, a guy came up to me with his daughter. His daughter was what, like 3 years old, and he's trying to holler at me for my number. I'm like, for what? For what? Right? Like, you're a grown ass person and you make your own grown ass decisions, right? So he's like, she took my youth. No, she didn't. You took your own youth with your stupidity. You thought she was going to get a whole bunch of money from Simon. I think that that's actually what happened. He thought, oh, like this man is rich. She was married to him, so she's going to walk away with a lot of money, but she actually didn't end up walking away with a lot. So Jalen played himself. I think he's a failed gold digger, to be honest with you, and that's why he's so bitter. So it's just, come on. It's not even that she had like 2, 3 kids like with a guy. It's like she has like what, 3, 4, 2, whatever, however many kids. It's at least 3. And each one has a different baby daddy. Like, come on, that should have been a red flag for you, Jalen. So stop. You were not manipulated, you were not groomed, you were just foolish. So he says that Fallon moved on with a new guy about like while they were actually still in a relationship, right? And so he's really upset about that and traumatized by it. And I can't feel bad for you. You were the mistress. It was all fun and game when you were the side piece, Jalen, right? When you were the coleslaw, when you were the biscuit. But now that you're the one getting cheated on, it's tragic and I'm supposed to feel bad for you. Sorry, but no. Like, you got what you deserved. I think that side pieces, whenever they get cheated on later on, to me it sounds very like, it sounds rude, but I always feel like, haha, sucker. Well, who's that girl that just got she was announced her separation? Natalie Portman. She was the mistress. That guy had a fiance he lived with. She got with him. And now, after 11 years of marriage, guess what? The cheater cheated on her. Too bad, so sad. I'm not going to cry for you, right? Ariana got cheated. She was the mistress to Tom when he was with Kristen. He cheats on her. Too bad, so sad. I don't feel bad for you. Jalen, you were the mistress when Fallon was married to Simon. Again, too bad, so sad. I don't feel bad for you. You know what type of person you're getting, so don't come crying, shock Pikachu, when the type of person you chose to get with acts exactly the way they acted at the beginning of your relationship, right? So now, when it comes to like some of the strong like words he uses against Fallon, he says that she's a manipulative narcissist who always wants things to go her way. Listen, everyone always calls her ex a narcissist, so I take these things with a grain of salt. He also says that he feels like he never stopped being her assistant in their relationship. He was kind of the pool boy the whole time. Listen, I'm not surprised. Like their dynamic was weird. Their dynamic was very mother son. There's only a 9 year age gap between the two of them, but Jalen comes across very like young and like empty. So I could see why she had to be very dominant in her relationship with him. So I'm not surprised. I did love that part during the interview when he says, "Oh, like you know what they say, you lose them how you get them," and that's exactly what happened to me. I'm like, "Yep, it sure is. I hope you learned your lesson, right?" And again, he keeps talking about how he lost his youth and happiness, and he's devastated by it because she promised that she would never take his youth and happiness because she was in a relationship with a much older man, and that much older man took her youth. Blah blah blah. Come on, Fallon already had three baby daddies when she got with Simon. Simon did not steal no damn youth from Fallon. Fallon put herself in a position to really like fast forward, accelerate her life, right? Like with this, all these like kids by all these random men. Like, please. And Jalen is still young. He only has one child by her, so he's gonna be fine, right? Like, Jesus, I don't know. He's a drama queen, I'll be honest. But again, like, where was your youth when you got with her? Like, when you get with someone who has multiple kids, like, you are signing up to take on a lot of responsibility, right? And like, you chose to do that. So you took away your own quote unquote youth, whatever that means, right? So Jalen starts talking about how Fallon's 9 year old is calling her new man dad, has been calling him dad, like even while she was dating him. So like that's how he knew she was just cheating. Like, I guess at a certain point the child was calling some other man daddy. And that was really upsetting to him, which is a natural kind of thing. Fallon, I think she needs psychological help. I said this like in that stream I did with Layla and Campfire. Um, some people said it's mean, but I'm sorry. I feel like when you are out here like being the neighborhood breeder, there's something off with you. Having a bunch of kids is great, but when you're out there indiscriminately popping off a bunch of kids for a bunch of random jump offs with like all these broken relationships and broken homes, there might be something psychologically going on that you need to look into. And I stand by that, right? Like the 9 year old calling, like, first of all her cheating, right? Cheating on Simon. Maybe she cheated in her past relationships, but now she's cheating on Jalen as well. These are the two we know of. While she has these kids, it's very unstable behavior. And now hearing that the 9 year old is calling this random you guy daddy and stuff, like she's unstable, right? Mentally, there's something off. So I'm gonna double back, and stand by my comment that I made like 2 years ago when all this was like, hot breaking news. Now, Jalen claims he never would have done that to her, but how do we know? You're both cheaters. So if she's capable of cheating just like you're capable of cheating, how are we supposed to believe that you would have never done any of this to her? I don't believe him. You're a cheater as well. So I don't believe him. He says that he's scared to let his daughter Emma be raised by Fallon because she's so damaged and traumatized and like she's just not living like a good lifestyle, which I'm sorry, but you should have thought about that before you had a daughter with her. You knocked her up immediately, right? I'm sorry, you guys, but I think Jalen is more calculated than he's letting on. I'm thinking back to him coming on my stream just to straight up lie, right? And now he's out here making all these calculated statements against Fallon, the woman he chose to propose to, the woman he chose to knock up. And that relationship moved along so quickly that I really, and then it doesn't make sense why a young, handsome man who is unattached would get himself wrapped up in all this drama and all this baggage. The only thing that I can think of is money. He thought Fallon was going to be inheriting a lot of money in her divorce. So he decided to scoop her up and impregnate her as quickly as possible. And, it just didn't work out the way he thought it did. And so now he's on this kind of scorned lover tour, to be honest with you. He does claim that Fallon tried to get back together with him after the breakup, even though she already had a new man. But like, when he was receptive to it, right? When he got all hot and bothered for it, she backed off because it turned out she didn't actually want to get back with him. She just wanted to make sure that he was still there, like, pining for her. And yeah, so she decided to just continue along with her man. Listen, this whole thing is messy and it's sad, but I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised they wound up like this. You cannot have a happy relationship when it starts off as an affair, right? So I'm not surprised to see that it's happened to Jalen and Fallon. I was surprised that they had a kid. I'm not surprised they never got married. I am surprised that Simon and Portia, on the other side of this messiness, they actually got married and whatnot. But I wouldn't be surprised if later on you start hearing Portia cry victim about her relationship as well, right? Like, you can't do these dirty things and hope for a good, happy ever love. It's just not going to happen. But I digress. That is a recap of Jalen's appearance on the Relationships Matter podcast. I really want to know how you feel about his very strong and pointed statements. I don't think that they are conducive to a happy and healthy co parenting relationship, which should be his priority right now, but I digress. Let me know what you think about all of it in the comment section down below. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.